One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful planet of ours. This is Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. I am your host, Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector. Just want to say thanks for hanging out with me this morning. Grab your coffee, grab your tea. We have a special guest that's going to be joining us, my friend and colleague, Kathy Buell, who is a well-known astrologer. And we're going to be talking about numerology and astrology for 2021. So I'll bring her on in just a second so we can get into the show. And she's also is going to be so kind to join me in the Healing Cafe, which will take place right after this show. This goes over to my YouTube channel, and then we go into the Healing Cafe at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. 8:30ish, sometimes we run over. So grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's move into the magic of the moment. I have my Best American Psychics mugs because Kathy is a colleague with me over at Best American Psychics. And so I thought I'd grab that mug for this morning that says, I have been baptized. Best American Psychic is BAP for short. So this morning, we're going to be spending about 30 minutes or so just talking about what we are forecasting, what we are seeing from an astrology standpoint, what I'm seeing as a numerologist. Kathy's going to handle the astrology side of the house. And again, you can always join me every Monday morning here on the Intuitive Prospector page. So make sure to like, subscribe, share out, get your top fan badge, and join the 30,000 plus spiritual prospectors every Monday morning here at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to do your own prospecting for your own spiritual transformations, your own spiritual inspirations, your own spiritual healing, your own spiritual gold, if you will. If you want to learn more about me, you can find me at marclainhart.com or just internet search the Intuitive Prospector. And make sure to catch my live radio show, Inspired Living Radio, second and fourth Wisdom Wednesday of the month. Just had our first show of the year last Wednesday. I'm off this Wednesday, but next Wednesday we're going to have Don Miguel Ruiz. So if you know who he is, he's the author of the Four Agreements. We're going to be talking about his new book. And also one more week until I start my online 5-week intensive called Experience the Etheric. There are seats still available if you want to do that and really get into the etheric spiritual mediumship of who you are and how the etheric world connects with us. You just go to marclainhart.com and click on the events tab. So with that, let's open up the show. Got a couple of you joining from around the world. I appreciate you. And how the show works is I grab my coffee, and kind of like a crystal ball or tea leaves, and I actually add in my cream. And what the cream tells me is kind of how I set up my show. There's no script or planning. I get on my meditation mat and I just kind of just tune into what's going on in the human experience and human consciousness. And today it looked like a universe, like a spiral. So we're going to be talking about the spiral, the universe, astrology. So with that, I would like to welcome in my special guest to Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, Kathy Buell. There she is. Good morning.
Hello, hello.
How are you? How are you?
I'm doing just fine. How about you?
Well, I am fantastic. It's Monday. It's inspiration. It's encouragement. It's motivation. It's Mocha Monday. So cheers to you. You got your coffee. You got your tea.
Cheers.
We like to say cheers. Just tell
I'm
me.
on about my 4th cup of coffee at this point. I'm on the East Coast. I'm ahead of you.
So yeah, just let everybody know who you are, where you're at, what you do. And we've got, people from all around the globe tuning in right now.
I'm a professional astrologer. I have an abundance of forecasts freely available at my site, empowermentunlimited.net, and my YouTube channel, Professional Aquarian. My monthly and moon forecasts are also dual published at Times. I've been writing for Times for a long, long time. And I'm a longtime member of Best American Psychics. I'm seeing people who know me. Hello. Yes, I'm looking also at that. So, and I approach things from a point of view of how can you use it down here? It doesn't make any sense to me although I am quite an academic person in my outlook in terms of astrology and anything metaphysical. I don't have time for it, honestly, given how complicated life is, unless there is some information that actually you can use yourself in your life on planet Earth. And so I have a ton of that for you.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's what I like about working with you is I'm very logical too in what I do. I didn't always know that I would get into the psychic or the mediumship or the spirituality, until my journey, dictated otherwise. But I still apply a lot of science to my philosophies, a lot of logic and reasoning. But I'm also open to just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And especially when it comes to, I always think of like the gravitational pull of the moon. And I learned this from my days in emergency medicine about that, our makeup of water, 65% water. And if the moon can move the oceans, you guaranteed it can move us. And that's where I really started to look at, full moon cycles, lunar cycles, just based on my past experience. And then I started to look at astrology. So tell us what's up and coming for 2021, what you're seeing from an astrology, because I know there's a lot of people that are watching right now that may be concerned, nervous, worried where we're at as a society. I've been kind of just getting all of the different feelings and emotions, what we see on media, social media, the news cycles. Kind of just share with us what you are seeing and forecasting for 2021.
Well, there are about 4 ways I can take this. So I'll start with the really positive, immediate aspect of it. We are building a new construct. Okay, we're moving out of a time, we're moving out of, we're not out of it, we're moving out of a time of enormous foundational and infrastructure and institutional collapse and reworking. And now, starting on the solstice last December, we began a new phase of building the new construct. It's a process. It's a process, and the construct has technology is involved, issues of community, issues of responsibility to the collective, or on the flip side, issues of authority trying to constrain the collective. There are multiple ways this can go. This is coming out of an event that happened on the 21st of December, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius. Jupiter is the planet of expansion and indulgence. Saturn is the planet of restrictions and responsibility. I call him the planet of adulting. And we're now all year long having a lot of contacts to, first off, that point where they met. And then these bodies are having contacts for a period of time with the planet of that rules Aquarius, the planet of awakening and liberation and rebellion, which is Uranus. So there's a real lightning feel to all of this, a lot of disruption. And all year long, we're going to have a vibe of trying to control the disruption, or on the other end, using innovative approaches in how we deal with all of this collectively. So that's big piece number one. And starting on no coincidences, January 20th, the planet that rules our drive, Mars, meets with Uranus. And yes, there have been a lot of predictions about what kind of erratic thing this might bring. But I am seeing it as, for each of us individually, having the motivation and the wherewithal to start steering where this innovation and change is happening in our lives.
I love it. And I,
Okay.
the great conjunction, I was thinking of the Star of Bethlehem, because it's not something we've seen in, I believe, 800 years. So it's been some time of that conjunction taking place where we actually see it. We won't see it again in our lifetime.
No. Well, now, first off, these two planets do meet every
Right.
20 years, but in this spot, no, it hasn't happened in a very, very long time.
Yeah. So,
and think of the star in the tarot. Really, that's a guiding image for this.
Yeah.
If that helps. So that's one big piece. And this is going on, and it's a process, okay? This is going to define the year, and we'll be experiencing it next year as well. Add to this that there has, for the last year, been an influence involving Neptune, which is the planet of greatest transcendence. I call him the cosmic fog machine. There's been an influence that's been pumping up the clouds coming off the fog machine and creating actually a dual experience of reality. And we have hit critical mass for that. We have hit peak bifurcated reality, and that is going to start to ebb, and things will be much clearer starting in about May, and then clearer still by about December. And you could see the shifts that have happened in online discourse with certain media accounts and certain media platforms getting restriction because of things that were being said that were lies or dangerous or inciting certain behaviors coming out of it. And that's going to gradually die down as well.
Well, that's good to know. I just, well, and it kind of, I watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix, and it really did open my eyes and how I interact on social media, and how social media through the algorithms and the bots and how that works. And I think in 2021, moving forward in this next decade, we're going to be looking not only at AI and robotics, we're going to be looking at what I call Internet 2.0, as far as how we communicate via social media. What is fake news? What is misinformation? What are, just straight up lies? And I've even seen a little bit of some of these social media platforms that are starting to flag, even with some of my own posts that I share, and they're like, this information is not accurate, or this information doesn't tell the right perspective. And I think we're going to see more of that as we move forward. Not, people will say, oh, that's censorship, but it's really not. It's capitalism, because you're agreeing to be on a platform and they're making money off that. But I think we're going to have some transparency and some conversation to what I see the great coming together. I predicted this last year. Everything that we're talking about right now, Kathy, I talked about this on my show last year at the beginning of the year. And I see a completely different year for us, the energy and the vibration. And you're talking about the astrology side of the house. What else would you offer for the listeners and the audience out there that's tuning in right now?
We're also in a third of the way through a process of really revisiting the power of words and beliefs. This has to do with eclipses in the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius, which started last summer and they go throughout the year. And so there are big issues for everyone to become aware of what your routine thinking is, what your information sources are, where your mind goes, what the chatter is in your head, what the stuff is you tell yourself, and the beliefs that you have spun out of that by which you live your life. And I will say that education is a theme in this. Racism, bias, dogma, these are also themes in it. And every person on an individual level has multiple moments of clearing out, updating, changing. I mean, I've been hearing all kinds of people saying, I never thought I would think this, but in various areas of life, all right? It's not even just the obvious that comes out of this, it's everywhere. And I have a lot of videos about this on my YouTube channel of just noticing where your thoughts routinely go. And that creates the filter through which you're viewing reality. And we always say, do you look at life with the glass half empty or half full? I have a different category now, and that is, or is the glass made of lead and cracked and filled with toxic waste or sludge or poison? And I know a lot of people who have that. So like, no. Look at your glass, clean your glass out, fill it. Yeah. Because wherever your thoughts are going, that's how you're going to experience life.
Yeah, it's funny that you say it, because when I was in the Coast Guard, I had a guy that was just the most negative gentleman you'd ever meet. He'd say, well, hell, I never even got a glass. A glass was never even issued to me.
I don't have a glass.
Yeah,
I don't. Hey, I have a glass. I'm lucky. I have a glass.
So it's interesting too, because as you were saying that, because this last year of 2020 and the hangover of 2020 and what we're in right now, it does at times, it feels like, have I slipped into an alternative reality? Yes. Is really what I'm seeing before my eyes and hearing with my ears really taking place. And it is. Yes. But it also makes me wonder if this is part of, we talk about the age of Aquarius, we talk about the great awakening, the great transformation, and the ability of consciousness, right? And we're talking right now with a vibration off our vocal cord, but they always talk about that's a very primitive form of communication. And I always wonder, as we move forward into this new decade of our roaring 20s, if we're going to have new means of communication, because we're already starting, think about it. We used to, communicate via smoke signal, and then we started to communicate via Morse code, and then we, visual, and then we got into the telephone, and then we got into the, the computer, and now the text. And now we're really starting to like consciousness seems to be evolving, but you don't get from A to B without that evolution process taking place. And that's just kind of what it feels like, which can be very uncomfortable, kind of like the caterpillar and that struggle before it becomes the butterfly and learns to see a different perspective. But what else do you see coming up, Kathy, in 2021 for an astrology? Because the events we experienced last year, there was a lot of astrology events. I mean, 2 full moons in 1 month. There were a lot of things. I kept going to the Farmer's Almanac going, oh my God, what are we going to have this month? What's going on in 2020?
Well, the big aspect that's recurring is Saturn, planet of structure, rules, authority, slamming up against Uranus, the guy that likes to blow up structures. And this, we're building into it. The first one's in February, second one's in June, third one is Christmas Eve. So it's the whole year. And people freak out and go, oh, what does this mean? And we're going to have martial law? No. I really do believe this is putting everybody's attention onto your own network, your own community, acting the as above, so below, micro, living locally and having that spread out. A lot of life. When Saturn first moved into Aquarius last year in the middle of March, it was there briefly. That's when the shutdown hit and when a lot of life moved online. And now we're figuring out new ways, different ways, more meaningful ways to actually connect with people virtually. And I just want to point out, we have a lot of historical cycles recurring now in convergence. And one of them does involve the Reformation, when at the end of the Black Death, the end of a massive plague, Martin Luther tacked a bunch of theses on the cathedral door in Württemberg in Germany. And so the Reformation and the Renaissance grew out of the aftermath of the plague, the complete change in thinking, the complete change in relationship to the ruling power structure of the time, which was the church, people having their own direct link to God in Protestantism rather than going through the Catholic Church, and a resurgence of creativity and thought. So that is coming. Secondly, we are in a reoccurrence of influences involving the Civil War and the founding of the Republican Party. That's all I'll say about that. That's coming up for, okay, now where? And third, we're having the first recurrence of an energy that was last with us after the Depression, or from when the Depression moved into the New Deal time, involving innovation in how we deal with the ground, how we deal with water. Social Security started, the notion of putting people to work to build things with a government backing, and that's Uranus and Taurus. So now we'll have green technology, green economy, new ways of putting people to work, and new approaches with money.
Awesome. I love it. And it's, it's funny because I was thinking, your focus does determine your reality. And as we focus in on this new decade, because we really did shift energetically. 2020 was that transitional year, from a numerology standpoint. It was, the year, what we call the master builder, the dedicated worker, where you have to tear down everything old so you can start building new. And as we move forward, one of the things too that's going to be interesting this year is, just, are we alone in the universe? Are we really the only species that presides in a galaxy that is mathematically incomprehensible? I think there's going to be some introductions to, we're not alone in the universe. Now, Kathy and I, people either, call us crazy or they actually call us for advice. And Kathy has a really good track record for seeing what is coming up from an astrology, just like I look from a numerology standpoint. And it's going to be interesting because there's going to be some official notifications that have to come out this year about what we call full disclosure. A lot of people don't know, in the COVID-19 bill that Congress signed, in there was a little nugget of information that says you have to, the Pentagon has to fully disclose what we know and what we don't know about little green men, metamaterial, UFOs, unidentified flying phenomenon. So in 2021, there is going to be some sort of announcement that lets us know that we're not alone. And it's pretty arrogant, naive, and ignorant to think that we're the only species, especially if you look at our technology and where we've gone with our technology, and even in my lifetime. So that's going to be exciting to see what that brings. And I agree with you. I think that the first few months of this year are still going to be, trials and tribulations, but I had forecasted for May and June to really start to not only see it, but to feel the difference. I get my vaccine shot here in 2 weeks because I work in healthcare. So I'm looking forward to that and getting back to, we'll never go back to the normal that we once knew, because normal wasn't working for a lot of people. But part of this digital aspect of what we're in is going to be interesting as one of our paradigm shifts. So Kathy, how can people get a hold of you or get in touch with you if they have more questions in the work that you do?
My website is empowermentunlimited.net, and my Facebook page is also Empowerment Unlimited. My YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian.
Professional Aquarian, I love it. And for everybody watching today, thanks for hanging out with us on a Monday morning. I always appreciate my fans and my top fans and people that share out. So make sure to like, subscribe. If you have a comment, go ahead and put that in there. We'll get to readings and comments here in the next segment of the Healing Cafe. But I wanted to bring Kathy on today to just talk about what we're seeing, because a lot of us that are spiritual, those of us that are astrologers or numerologists or psychics, we see a lot of this before it unfolds. And it's, sometimes it can be a burden because we see it and it doesn't always unfold. I always say we're kind of like, weathermen or weather women. We forecast, and there are things that do happen, but they don't always happen in the way that we say they're going to happen. But where we're at right now was a forecast that you and I both talked about from an astrology standpoint, from a numerology standpoint. And I just, for the viewers out there, I just want to let you guys know that this year is a completely different year from 2020. We'll look back at 2020 from a historical standpoint, not much different than 100 years ago during 1920. The same politics, the same pandemic, The same divide was very much relevant. So, you know, Mark Twain always talked about history doesn't repeat itself, but it does have a rhythm and a flow to it that's very similar. But as we move into this deepening of 2021, it's a more new positive vibe. You know, just a quick refresher, numerology is a belief system from numbers 1 through 9, and it dates back thousands of years, and it talks about spiritual significance. It talks about symbolic messages. That's what I look like, because I realize we're the only species that pays to live here, and we're the only species that measures our life by time. So numerology has always been fascinating to me. And if you think about it, we're in the year of the 5, so 2021 is the mid-year of our cycle. And so this is that transformation I'm talking about. We've gone, you know, from 1 to 9. So in 2025, we'll be at the 9, and then we repeat over. So everything is in a cycle and repeats. And so we're in the 5 year, which is freedom, love, adventure. It's about creating big possibilities, and kind of like what Kathy was saying, new education. It might be new relationships, new careers, new environments in which we actually move forward, because the environments, people long debated that we couldn't work from home. The workforce couldn't work from home digitally. Now we know that's not the truth. We know that that can be done on a very global, epic scale. So the year of the 5 is a time in 2021 to open your mind, learn more about what you're curious about. Again, freedom, love, adventure, flexibilities, what gives you joy. It could be freedom from COVID. It could be freedom from divide. It could be freedom from certain relationships or careers that you've not been happy with. That is what the year of the 5 is going to represent in 2021. It's also a year to take your time, because there's going to be a lot going on in this year, more than what we anticipate or forecast for Kathy and I. But you know, it's about experiencing the unexpected and having fun with that. Be flexible. I always say to my students, be like bamboo, strong but yet flexible. Don't let life break you. What would you say? You know, it's for me, it's a year of motivation. Like I said, freedom, love, adventure, all of those words represent positive vibration and positive compared to 2020. What would you say, from just an astrology standpoint, anything that's really jumping off the page for you, Kathy?
Well, I always like to start with where we came from and look at last year as showing you what your bottom line is, what you've taken for granted, what you absolutely need for your own stability and security, and all the stuff that you realized you can live just fine without. And this year we move into innovative ways of, you know, how are we going to make it up again? Okay, how are we going to create it again? A lot of modern, untrained witches use the approach of, we'll just make it up as we go along. Well, guess what? That's what we're doing. So you get to wipe the slate clean, in a sense. You know now what your non-negotiables are, and you know who your traveling companions are to some extent. There's some shifts and changes coming with that, but make your new world.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be on a global scale. I think we realize we'll look back at 2020 and realize, you know, we don't really need to consume as much as we consume for the planetary sustainability. Oil kind of went by the wayside, didn't it? Not everybody's driving their cars everywhere. We realized that we're going to need some sort of universal healthcare system here in the United States, because we realize that, you know, health is public. It literally impacts everybody. It doesn't care
Everybody, right?
Or white or black. It doesn't care. So we're going to have to really look at and examine those, kind of like you said, the New Deal, very much after the Great Depression. The Great Depression started in 1929, but the years that led up to that, we're not in anywhere near that. But from a society standpoint, you know, this is going to be a year to really research, to explore, and really bring stability. Like I said, the great coming together, the words that I keep talking about: homeostasis, sustainability, self-mastery, the great coming together. That's what we're going to see as we start to unfold into 2021. So we're going to get ready for the Healing Cafe. But Kathy, do you want to, before we end this show, any parting advice from an astrology standpoint?
Your go-to phrase for the year is, show me another way to look at this.
Ooh, I like that. Show me another way to look at that.
That's your Uranian that's tilted.
Yeah, I always go with Wayne Dyer in that. I always say, when, because Dr. Wayne Dyer always taught about when you change the way that you look at things, and I think we're all looking at changing how we look at things in life. When you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at do start to change. And I do believe there is some truth to that. So before we go, though, I just want to say, I just want to give a shout out to our healthcare heroes out there on the front lines that are working this pandemic. Thank you to our first responders, our police officers, our firefighters, our nurses, our doctors, all the critical workers out there that are there to keeping the food moving and keeping everything going, whether you're in the UK or here in the United States. We appreciate you. I acknowledge you. I see you. And I want to just say happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day today. Dr. King was a inspirational leader that believed in a dream, and I believe that's where we're going. And I think what we're seeing kind of come out of the woodwork, from racism, systemic racism, equality. It's interesting that today, Kathy, is Martin Luther King Day that we celebrate federally, and with everything going on in the world, including inauguration, which is just less than 48 hours away. So just the timing of everything. But I want to leave the show today with a quote from Dr. King, that he says, "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving." And that's what 2021 is going to be for all of us. We have to keep moving regardless of what we see going on. You may not agree with it. But again, he also talked about our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. So speak your truth, be kind, be caring, be compassionate in what you say and what you do. Words matter, as we have found out in reality, that words and actions do matter. And I want to just say thank you, Kathy, for joining me on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. Give us about 2 minutes, guys, so I can queue up the Healing Cafe, get your questions ready. Kathy is going to join me and give some readings based on astrology. And if you know the Healing Cafe, it's like a spiritual box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get until we pop the top off. So I want to just say thank you for hanging out with me, hanging out with Kathy this morning. Thank you for being here, Kathy. And until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate, and most importantly, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and find that diamond within. We'll see you next week here on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. Take care, everybody. Namaste.